cluster of security and justice, but now we have rescheduled this meeting. It is in that context that we are holding this meeting as the select committee only. Just as a way of apologizing on behalf of the minister will not be part of this important meeting. As you know that she's handling a very important matter of the disaster management, and she's busy with the regulations for the third level of the coronavirus, and she's not going to join us in this meeting. But luckily, we have the two deputy ministers, Honorable Pakstow, who is part of this meeting, as well as Honorable Obed Bapela. He has also logged in. They are going to assist in terms of the deliberations and everything else pertaining to what is going to happen throughout the day. Our meeting will be scheduled for exactly 3 hours, and we'll see how it goes. And I've just checked, almost all members are present, but as a matter of process, I'm just going, when I call your name, you must just indicate that you are present. Honorable Mola?
Present, Chairperson.
Mola? Okay.
Present, Chairperson.
Okay. Honorable Mikalakis?
I'm present, Chair. I also have a point of order when you're done, please.
Okay, fine, no problem. Honorable Sileku?
Good evening, Chair. Nikona.
Good. Honorable Faisal? Honorable Sileku?
I'm present. I'm present. Thank you, Chief.
Honorable Mtatwa? Honorable Koya?
Goedemorgen, voorzitter.
Honorable Nita? Honorable Nita?
Present, Chair.
Okay, got Honorable Zandamela?
Corner, Chair.
Honorable Mutsamai? Honorable Mutsamai? Honorable Kenny Mutsamai?
Good Chairperson.
Okay, good. And Honorable Mfaela?
In, Chairperson, I'm in.
Oh, wonderful. All of us, the 12 of us, are part of this meeting. And as you are aware, our staff members are also part of this important meeting. And as I indicated, the two deputy ministers are also part of this important meeting. I heard Honorable Mikalaki saying that he wants to rise on a point of order before we start with our meeting. Over to you, Honorable Mikalakis.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I hope you can see me. It's quite dark over here. Chairperson, my point of order is just this, that when we had a joint meeting earlier this month, the minister indicated that she was only available for half an hour. The last time that I can remember that we had a meeting with this department in the committee room in the old assembly or S12A, all the parties rose to indicate their disappointment with the minister also not being available at that meeting. Now, I'm very grateful towards the two deputy ministers for availing themselves. But as we indicated the other evening, they are not part of the cabinet, and they're not part, as the minister is, of the command council at the moment. The minister has not, in the last year, appeared before our committee at all. And I actually would venture to say that of all the ministers that we have, Dr. Dlamini Zuma is the accountable of all of them, because it's the one that we don't see ever. Chairperson, I have to request that even if the minister is not available this evening, that she avails herself at some stage, not in the too distant future, in the coming week or so, to actually come and account to Parliament with regards to our questions surrounding the budget and any other questions that we might have with regards to policy. I think this is one of the most important portfolios that there are, and we haven't in the last year had a chance to ask Minister Zuma any questions. We are currently under lockdown, and it's 6 o'clock in the evening. There are very, very few valid excuses for a minister not to avail themselves, at least to do this. This is part of the core of their job, and I would like to request you, with hopefully the support of my colleagues, that a meeting be set up with the minister in the very, very near future. Please, Chairperson.
Okay, just as a way of responding to that, as I indicated to you, firstly, 2 weeks ago, there was a meeting of the Portfolio Committee with the Minister, where the Minister was present. We couldn't join that meeting precisely because of the reasons that I advanced. And the main reason is that on that same Friday, we had a meeting of the joint meeting of Security and Justice, and it was really impossible for all of us to be part of that meeting. But at that stage, the Portfolio Committee had decided to proceed the meeting, and in that meeting, I'm advised that the Minister was present, and she did a wonderful presentation in terms of briefing the Portfolio Committee about what is happening. We are all aware that last week the President made the major announcement addressing the nation in respect of what is going to happen going forward, especially in terms of unlocking certain possibilities so that as the country we are able to function, and that we anticipate that Lock 3 regulations will be in place so that this country must move forward in the wake of the coronavirus. And we all know that the minister, our minister who accounts to this department, is to this committee, is the head of the team that is responsible for the coordination of all the regulations pertaining to lockdown. And where I see it, I really sympathize with the work that the minister is doing. I sympathize with her in the way that she's doing her work. But I take the point, and this is part of what we have been doing. And as the chair of the committee, I've been doing that, engaging different ministers, and I raised this particular matter with the minister that notwithstanding the work that she's doing and her preoccupation, this committee is quite important as well. And I think the minister has heeded that particular call, and she understands. And I engaged with the office, and preliminarily the office had indicated when we planned for this meeting that the minister will be present. But beyond the reasons beyond her control has led to her not becoming part of this meeting. And as the chair, I've accepted that she's not part of the meeting, and that the deputy ministers will be here. As we are aware, yes, the deputy ministers are not part of the cabinet, but that doesn't suggest that they are not the authorities within the department itself. They are fully versed, they are fully briefed, they understand the mandate and the vision of this particular department. And where I sit, I'm quite confident that they are up to the challenge to deal with the matters at hand. And as I indicated, to just reinforce the point that I made, the minister will surely come to this particular committee, and I surely know that she respects the work of this committee in terms of what is it that is doing. More than any other department else within our parliament, this department has been very much helpful. We have been interacting with this particular department, and even myself one-on-one, I've met with the minister to discuss pertinent matters. But I take the point that we need to further impress to the minister to say it is quite important that going forward, she needs to avail herself and be part of this particular meetings of the committee, and take the processes of the department forward, and that we are afforded an opportunity as members of parliament to hold the executive to account to its own activities. With that, Honorable Mikalakis, I note what we say, but as I explained, I think we need to move forward with this particular meeting with that understanding that we will once more engage the minister and make sure that she's part of of these particular meetings going forward. Yes, I think in the same vein, let us proceed, honorable members. For the purpose of this meeting, there are two items. We are going to firstly receive the presentation on the annual budget and the strategic plan, as well as the annual performance plan of the department. That is the cooperative governance department, because we have dealt with the component of the traditional affairs. Once they are done with the presentation, we will then receive a presentation on MISA, which is an entity within the department, the Municipal Infrastructure Support Agent. They are going to share with us their own plans, budget, as well as the annual performance plan of that particular agency going forward. Based on that, I think we are only 12. We will have more time to deliberate on each and every presentation that is put before us and take all these particular processes forward. With those remarks, honorable members, once more, you are heartily welcomed. Let's engage, and I'm going to call on Honorable Pakstow, the Deputy Minister of COGTA, to come forward and lead us in terms of that and guide us as to who's going to do the presentations on behalf of the department. Over to you, Honorable
Sorry, Honorable Chair.
Yes.
Just before the Honorable Deputy Minister, I just want to record an apology, Chair, that if we are not done by 7:30, I'm going to slip out of the meeting for 10 to 15 minutes. There's a conference call that I'm expecting at 7:30. Thanks.
Okay. Honorable Pakstow, over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and good evening to you, to honorable members, Deputy Minister Bapela and colleagues. So we'll do an introduction to both the presentations, the one by the Department of Cooperative Governance, led by the Director General, Avril Williamson, who's with us this evening, and also the CEO of MISA, Mr. Vimba. The context really is that we are presenting, of course, in an environment where the department has been focused on, when presenting its strategic plan and annual performance plan, focused on transforming the department to form a number of critical tasks within the context of the medium-term strategic framework and the direction given by the President of the Republic, including, amongst others, the establishment of an integrated cooperative governance mechanism through the district development model. So our strategic plan, to a large extent, is informed by that, the need to ensure that we can create a mechanism of integrated governance throughout the three spheres of government that's decentralized in terms of planning and execution to the district level, where we would have one plan. In that context, you would see that the outcomes have evolved, and the first two outcomes in the strategic plan focus in particular on the district development model. The first being about effective and efficient cooperative governance system to drive the implementation of the district development model. The second being effective intergovernmental relations through the district development. Very closely aligned outcomes of the department that are focusing on ensuring that we play the pivotal role of pulling all of government together to focus collectively on one plan per district in an integrated governance form. The third outcome is about integrated planning and service delivery. So this extends now to ensuring that the plans focus on service delivery and that we're able to enhance the integrated development plans of municipalities, not only integrating services that are delivered by municipalities, but integrating these with the other spheres of governance. The fourth area, Chairperson, is an area that's particularly important. The long-term financial viability of local government is particularly important. We know that in excess of 100 municipalities are functioning under distress in the current COVID-19 pandemic and the resultant crisis that it has, or pressure that it has placed on municipalities. We anticipate that more municipalities are going to get into distress and their income statements significantly impacted on, and of course their liquidity and cash flow management. So this matter about addressing into the future a mechanism of enhancing municipal sustainability and the viability of the local government system is very important. So we think that it's a critical task in this period. And then we're also looking at sustained, and which is the fifth, sustained good municipal governance, and that's about improving governance at the local government level. And of course, the last is about improved disaster management system. We know that we're dealing, particularly now, with an environment where 2 national disasters have been declared. So the COVID-19 pandemic, but even before the COVID-19 pandemic was declared as a national disaster, in terms of the National Disaster Management Act, the drought in the country was also declared as a national disaster that required attention. And in these discussions, we've been talking about how to improve the disaster management system in the country so that we improve turnaround times, improve the ability to disperse resources, to integrate government efforts in addressing disasters. Because if you think about it, Honorable Chairperson, when a disaster is declared in relation to a drought, whilst we are the department that declares the drought, it is actually the sister departments that are at the forefront of addressing the challenges with regard to the drought. So the Department of Water and Sanitation, the Department of Agriculture, and other departments are crucial in the management of the issues that are presented by the drought that has been declared. So we think that we need to improve our disaster management system. And when you look very closely at our annual performance plan, it indicates a commitment to reviewing the way in which we manage disasters in the country and improving our systems. Also indicating in the annual performance plan, which is the last point I'm going to highlight before the DG comes in, we're also highlighting there 2 critical things. The one is about improving the way in which we're able to invest in infrastructure in municipalities and to provide support to municipalities through the Municipal Infrastructure Support Agent, and possibly beginning to expand the mandate of MISA in relation to the functions that it performs to support municipalities in infrastructure, investment and development. The second is that the country has developed, in line with the new urban agenda of the United Nations, an urban policy and an urban agenda titled the Integrated Urban Development Framework, the IUDF. In our APP, we indicate that the implementation plan of the Integrated Development Plan has come to an end for the medium-term period that has passed, and we would be presenting to the committee an erratum which would include the implementation of the Integrated Urban Development Framework. So we still commit to coming back and adding more meat to the bone that we have already presented to the committee and to Parliament. And related to that is, of course, the reality that given the current national disaster and crisis and the President's stimulus package and resources being deployed in local government, but also the shift in focus somewhat, that we would certainly, after the amended budget has been presented to Parliament, be able to come back to Parliament and say, this is how it has impacted on our annual plan, and therefore would present a comprehensive erratum with regards to the annual performance plan of the department. On that note, if I may, and I indicated, Chair, that with regards to MISA, the CEO will also comment, so we won't do any opening again on behalf of MISA. So this would be representative of both DCOG and MISA. Thank you very much. If I may hand over to the DG, and she would lead us in this section. Thanks, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much. Over to you, DG.
Thank you, Chair. Honourable Chairperson of the Select Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Water and Sanitation and Human Settlements, Mr. China Dodovu, and to all the honourable members present, and then to our Deputy Ministers, Park Star and Obed Bapela, and all our colleagues. We want to firstly just thank you for the opportunity that's been provided to us to interact with yourselves in the joint meeting. And we're here to present our strategic plan for the period 2020 to 2025, but focusing on 2020-21 for the annual performance plan of the department. So we are here, as the Deputy Minister had pronounced, and some Deputies Directors General and some of our senior officials also accompany me. So our strategy is centered around the district development model as an intergovernmental relations vehicle to actually coordinate all of government's work towards the 44 districts and the 8 metros. Our finance is set in the estimate of national expenditure for 2020 is also presented and will be revised as the tabling of the adjusted 2020-2021 national budget in Parliament by the Finance Minister. So we will also brief the honourable members about our work around COVID-19 coordination and also our contribution to the broader local government economics response. So the department is also working on its long-term sustainable post-COVID economic recovery strategy for the sector, which is in line with our national strategy. And we also will be looking at the implications of COVID-19 on our strategic plan and our annual performance plan. So we've already started with the strategic discussions on the review of our strategic plan and the annual performance plan. And the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation has also issued a communique that is in alignment with the 2020-2021 adjusted budget process. So departments will be expected to revise and retable the 2020-2021 annual performance and the 2020-2025 strategic plan. So a formal communication issued regarding the processes for the revision and the tabling of the SP and the APP, as well as reporting against the COVID-19 initiative. So thank you very much, Chairperson. Much appreciated. And we will move on to our official.
Excuse me, DG. Your line is very bad, or is it only me who hears that? I don't hear you at all.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I think we're all having a problem, Chair.
Apologies for to say. Wow, apologies, Chair. We thought we were audible.
Yeah, your line is very bad, DG. It's very, very bad.
Okay, now to hear me now.
Yeah, keep on talking. I'll let you know. I will tell you. Go ahead.
So, Chairperson,
your line is
that better?
Bad. Yeah, talk. Go
Chairperson,
on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, Director General, I can hear you. Go on.
Oh, thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I had actually done my entire introduction, so I'm not so sure which parts were heard audible and which parts were not audible.
Yeah, towards the end, you were cutting. You were at a point where you were telling us the implication of COVID-19 to the strategic plan and the APP of the department. And from there, you started cutting.
Okay, so I will start by then just saying, Honorable Chair, that Our strategy is centered around the district development model as an intergovernmental relations vehicle to actually coordinate all of government's work towards the 44 districts and the 8 metros. And our finance is set in the estimate of the national expenditure for 2020 are also presented and will be revised as the tabling of the adjusted 2020-2021 national budget in Parliament by the Finance Minister. And we will also be briefing the honourable members about our work around COVID-19 coordination and also our contribution to the broader local government economic response. And the department is also working on the long-term sustainable post-COVID economic recovery strategy for the sector, which is in line with the national strategy. And we are also going to be looking at the implications of COVID-19 on our strat plan and the annual performance plan, Chair. So we've already started with the strategic directions on the review of our strat plan and the annual performance plans. And the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation also has issued a communique that is aligned with the 2021 adjustment budget process, and departments will be expected to revise and retable the 2020-21 annual performance plans and 2020-2025 strategic plans, and a formal communication will be issued regarding the processes for the revision and the tabling of both the SP and the annual performance plan. And thank you, Chair, and I'd ask that if I could please then hand over to our official, Siabelo Molefe, who will be conducting the presentation on behalf of the department. So thank you, Honourable Chairperson and members.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, TG. Good evening, Honourable Chair and Honourable members.
Yes.
Can I have a full slide, please, from the controller? Chair, the Deputy Minister as well as the DG provided a high-level presentation on really why we're here, highlighting critical areas where we going in terms of our strategy as well as our annual performance plan. So I'll just zoom in on the strategic plan performance tables on slide number 7.
Sorry, Honourable Chair. Can I just make a request?
Yes.
I want to request that maybe if they can close their camera, mute the camera, and then have the mic audible, then their voice quality might be better.
Again, Mr. Molefe, the one presenting, we have the presentations with us. If you battle, just go ahead. Members will refer to their own presentations if this what we want to show on the camera is giving problems. Just proceed without wasting time.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, under program 1, the program 1 on slide number 7 is really a program that will support our line function that are responsible for providing support to local government. And we have set ourselves 3 specific indicators that will drive an efficient and effective internal governance systems. And one of the key projects there is to ensure that in the next 5 years, by 2025, we achieve an unqualified audit opinion. As members would be aware that we have been getting a negative audit opinions in the past 3 years. So we have put ourselves that strict target of ensuring that we adhere we adhere to issues that cost us qualification, and therefore we have set ourselves that target. We'll also be looking at projects with regards to sorting out irregular and fruitless expenditure, which is part of that's contributing to us receiving a qualified or a disclaimer audit opinion. On the next slide, slide number 8, this program, it's regional urban development and legislative support. It's the main program that will be driving the district development model for us to ensure that we achieve priority number 5 of spatial integration, human settlement, and local government. We have set ourselves an outcome of an integrated planning and service delivery. And under planning, we will ensure that we establish district hubs and in all the 52 spaces. We assist in the development of the one plans, and that we revise a specific section of the Intergovernmental Relations Act to ensure that we enable that intergovernmental coordination to take place. And the main also is the revision of our integrated urban development framework and ensure that all our municipal IDPs for all municipalities are aligned to the one plans of the districts. The DM already talked about the revised IUDF implementation plan. On the next slide, to ensure that there is improved municipal financial viability as a 5-year outcome, we thought it important for us to have a financial viability tool that will be implemented by all municipalities with regards to improving their financial status. We also looking at issues that are causing a disclaimer with regards to municipalities and negative audit opinions. Therefore, we set ourselves those targets with regards to the reduction of the unfunded budget, the reduction of the debtors book. We also continue with our project that we have started of ensuring that we roll out the revenue management system across all municipalities. The Municipal Structures Amendment Bill, which is currently with the National Council of Provinces, we are dedicating that we will be supporting the finalization thereof and ensure that we facilitate also the implementation of that act. On slide number 9, on slide number 10, the National Disaster Management Center, the key projects that would drive improved disaster management system are related with the reduction in the turnaround time to manage disasters. Honorable members might be aware that there's always been issues with regards to how we respond to disasters and the time frame with regards to us responding to disasters. So we also looking at reducing that turnaround time with regards to the prevention, preparedness, mitigation, response, recovery, and rehabilitation. The other project is also with regards to ensuring that we implement an impact-based early warning system, and also there are other projects that we will also look at. But as the DG said earlier on, we'll also be looking at revising some of our plans to ensure that we respond accordingly with regards to the current situation facing us in terms of COVID-19. Slide number 11, the project with regards to ensuring that we accelerate service delivery. The Deputy Minister pointed out the issue of us rolling out the MIC in collaboration with MISA. We also have a project of ensuring that there is proper monitoring support before we get into the issues of of interventions with regards to Section 100 and 139. So this bill has always been in the cards, and we envisage that by the next 5 years we'll be implementing the act, so that we not only intervene, but also we started the process of monitoring and supporting before intervention take place. On slide number 6, the community work program, we have always been reporting to the committee with regards to challenges that we are facing. One of them is the negative audit opinions with regards to assets. And now we have decided as the department to redesign the CWP model. And the redesigning of the model will ensure that we take into consideration all the issues that are challenging, so that the program does its main purpose of ensuring that we complement government's work of reduction of unemployment and poverty. We will continue as such over the years to ensure that while we revising the model, we will also be ensuring that we facilitate the process of providing work opportunities. Some of the areas here will also be looked at in terms of revising the work of the program, so that we respond accordingly to the current situation of COVID-19. A new project that is also added, it's on ensuring that the agrarian projects are established, also in support of ensuring that we support the issues of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. Chair, the next slide, basically, it's a breakdown of the strategy that I have just presented. On slide number 15 onwards, per program, we are outlining really year on year what is it that we're going to do to get to the state of us achieving our strategic outcomes. For achieving internal cooperative governance system that are effective and efficient, we'll be implementing those projects that I highlighted in our strategy. On slide number 16, regional urban development and legislative support, to ensure that we achieve outcome 3 and outcome 5 on integrated planning, sustained good governance. We'll be revising the IUDF implementation plan. We'll also be ensuring that we have the capital expenditure framework is being rolled out in intermediate cities. The development of the one plan that I established, as well as the establishment of hubs. So those are the projects year on year that we'll be implementing. Under institutional development also, these projects mainly are in line with us rolling out our key mandate of ensuring that we support municipalities through the Municipal Structures Act as well as the Municipal Systems Act. I've talked about the revision of the Structures Act. We will also be focusing and zooming on some regulations that are related to the Structures Act. The revision, the ensuring that the staff regulations are complied with, as well as compliance on appointment of municipal managers, as the issues of negative audit opinion. And we'll continue also to ensure that we roll out the integrated government capacity building framework across all the 52 spaces. Still under institutional development, these are also in line with the Municipal Systems Act. Key amongst these will be the issues of assessing compliance with regards to the notice of upper limits for both senior managers and municipal councils with regards to project 3.8 and 3.9. And a new project is that of ensuring that we develop a smart city framework, a framework that will guide the establishment of smart cities across the country, and so that there is a coordinated and integrated way of establishing those smart cities. Then I've already highlighted issues around the National Disaster Management Center on slide number 19. So I'll skip that. And I've also talked about the MIG project on slide 20, as well as the interventions with regards to section 100 and 139. And when we get to slide number 21 on community work program, these are the projects that I have already highlighted. The support with regards to provision of work opportunities. To enable that, we'll also be forming partnerships with private as well as government to ensure that we drive the community work program. And I also touched on the establishment, the establishment of agrarian project. So, Chair, this is the strategy and APP. And the slides that follow are then, as the DG highlighted, the work that we are currently involved in as the department, and committee members are aware of what is happening around the country. When we go to slide number 26, it provides just a roadmap of where we come from and where we go with regards to us. With the COVID-19 pandemic, since November 2019, when the first new cases of the disease were pronounced, on the 15th of March, the president declared the COVID-19 state of disaster, and it moves on to also highlight the issues that we dwelled on with regards to the issuing of regulations on disaster management that the country is basically implementing. And we're moving along until the 30th of April, where we COVID-19 level 4 regulations were pronounced, and subsequently there are still actions that we are implementing with regards to us managing the disaster management command center. So, Chair, in terms of slide 28, since the activation of the disaster operations center, the department, the department, MISA and DTA are working hand in hand together with provinces to ensure that we report and monitor the implementation of COVID-19 regulation, the disaster management regulation with respect to COVID-19. So that we're getting reports from provinces, and senior officials from the department are manning that center on a daily basis and provide reports to management and to the executive authority. Basically, Chair, that's what we the plans that we have. We have also highlighting the strategic partners that we working with on slide number 31 with regards to human settlement, health, transport, water, treasury, and social development. As we saying, as we practicing a cooperative governance approach in tackling this pandemic. We also have those private sector contributors to our work, and amongst others, Telkom, DBSA, Dirisano, and our own GovChat, which is an interactive WhatsApp tool that manages participation of people with regards to them having access to complaints, how they report complaints within local government. Now, Chair, from slide number 31 onwards, it's our 2020 estimate of national expenditure allocations. The DG pointed out earlier on that the budget will be revised as per the pronouncement that will be made by the finance minister. And therefore, I'll also hand over to the CFO to take us through the financial section of this plan.
Good evening, Chairperson, members. If I can quickly take us through maybe slides, the finance slides. I'll try and be brief. I think it's important to note that our total budget for 2021 will be 96,233. It will increase to 111 billion, which is an average 7.2% increase. Then we will see there's a decrease under program 4, which is disaster relief funds. That is mainly because of we haven't received any allocation yet for the disaster recovery grant, because that is normally specifically provided as and when the need arises. The next slide, slide number 39. That is just the breakdown of the budget in terms of the economic classifications, of which compensation of employees, that is for the whole department, 395 million, and it increased to 438.8 million. Then in terms of goods and services, it's 4 billion and it increased to 5 billion. We can also see that the community work program is basically the driver of that budget, which is 4 billion, and it increased to 4.5 billion. The next element under economic classification is transfers and subsidies. It increased from 91 billion to 106 billion. And we have also highlighted the department's part, which is mainly our big grants to our municipalities, and then just the grant allocation for the municipal infrastructure support agent. Payment of capital assets is all our capital assets that we plan to purchase that may change depending on the plans moving ahead. Just as a summary in terms of slide 40, important to note that I think it's just to confirm that the Department of Traditional Affairs has now its own vote from the current financial year 2021. They've got vote 15. Then and the net effect on the changes to the department's budget, there was a 2.86 billion decrease in 21-22 and a 2.145 billion in 21-22 and a 2 billion in 22-23 financial years. And this is mainly linked to the need for the shifting of government funding to the priorities or the key priorities of government in general to address all the key aspects. We've indicated also that compensation decreased in terms of in line with the government's decision to look at compensation funding. And then important is compensation funding is still earmarked specifically and exclusively. So we must ensure that we manage the compensation within that limits. Chairperson, the next slide. I noted there may be just a printing problem on slide 41 in terms of the percentage. What we try to illustrate there is the division of the budget of the department for the 2021 financial year. And critical there is that our expenditure for the first part, which is basically transfers, indirect grant, as well as earmark funds. Those are the funds that the department need to monitor and ensure implementation is done accordingly. that comprised of 95.526 billion. It comprised of 99.27% of the budget of vote 3. The other part is just an illustration of the operational budget of the department, which is a 0.73% of the total budget allocation. And it comprised of, for the different programs, the detailed breakdown was given. In the next slide, the last slide, basically slide 42, there it's just an indication of the split of the operational budget in terms of the proportion for compensation of employees, goods and services, transfers and subsidies, and payments of capital assets. Chairperson, as the DG indicated, this is the budget as tabled by Minister of Finance in February, but the budget will be revised in line with the adjustments. The last slide is basically just another way of illustrating the proportions of the budget for the 2021 budget allocation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Misa? CEO of MISA? Misa?
Sorry, Chairperson, we're just checking in on him.
Okay.
Sorry, Chairperson, he's just got technology problems. He is talking, but we can't hear him. So we're just trying again.
Okay. Peter, where is he now? Let him show his face.
We're just asking him to show his face here.
Can you hear me, Chairperson?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Show your face so that we see you. Yes, you can go ahead.
I can't, it doesn't have the camera. I don't know what's happening.
Now we can see half of you. Just sit well, position yourself in such a way that we can fully see you.
Can we?
CEO?
Chairperson?
Yeah, proceed. We will tell you when we don't hear you. In the meantime, just proceed.
Chairperson?
Yeah, proceed. We are listening.
What's happening with my gadget? Hello?
Mr. Vimba, proceed.
I don't know on slide 1, Chairperson, I will move just straight to slide 3, Chair. Introduction and purpose. Can someone help me to move the slide, please? Chair, the slide, Chair, all was saying is to say, Chairperson, both our strategic plan and APP were tabled in Parliament on due date in March 2020. And the purpose of this presentation, Chair, is to, of course, brief the committee on our strategic plan and APP, as well as our budget allocation for 2020-2021. It will also reflect, Chairperson, on the impact of COVID-19 on our plans, and will indicate which indicators are affected by that, Chairperson. The next slide, Chair, which is slide 5, is just a visual mission of MISA. We're not going to go through that. Our vision remains the same, it has not changed. And slide 6 is also the key functions of MISA as they are indicated in the operational notice. Well, I'm not going to go through that, Chairperson, it's known. And slide 7, Chairperson, slide 7, we're reflecting the MTSF priorities, the 5-year priorities, Chairperson, and will indicate which priorities is MISA directly responding to, but we're reflecting all the 7 priorities, Chairperson. And on slide 8, Chair, we are just indicating what our plan will be focusing on at a very high level, Chairperson. We indicate that Chairperson, over and above the normal work that MISA does in municipalities in terms of infrastructure planning, delivery and operations and maintenance, we are also assisting municipalities, Chairperson, with infrastructure procurement through a number of mechanisms, like the setting up of framework contracts and the infrastructure delivery management system, which we are implementing in partnership with National Treasury. Also, Chairperson, we are also working with private sector development finance institutions like DPSA on a private sector participation model that Deputy Minister Tau alluded to earlier. We have designed a program which we are piloting in a number of municipalities, Chairperson. One of the municipalities that has been identified is Maluta Perform. And on slide 9, Chair, in this slide, Chairperson, we are reflecting, Chairperson, on the pronouncement made by a Minister of Finance, if I may quote, that the Minister of Cooperative Governance and International Affairs and I have agreed that our officials will find ways to use the allocations made through the Municipal Infrastructure Grant to ensure that municipalities not only build new infrastructure, but also maintain the infrastructure they already have. Now, in this regard, Chairperson, we have initiated a process together with COGTA to remodel the Municipal Infrastructure Grant to give effect, Chairperson, with the pronouncement by the Minister of Finance. Furthermore, on the slide 10, we are reflecting, Chairperson, on this slide on the role of MISA in the implementation of district development model, which is, of course, the key in terms of the coordination of infrastructure programs as they relate to municipalities. And over and above, we are indicating the work that we do with water and sanitation, as well as other sector departments, and the work that we have done, Chairperson, together with social partners to mobilize for resources to respond to COVID-19. We are reflecting, Chair, that we've got a partnership with Tirisano Construction Fund, which is a fund, Chair, and hosted by IDC, the DTIC. This fund, they have contributed, Chairperson, an amount of 50 million towards water and sanitation interventions, and we are working together with them to implement that intervention. And also the Development Bank of Southern Africa, Chair, has also committed 41.44 million towards water and sanitation program. And again, we're working together there to make sure that we support municipalities to respond to COVID-19 pandemic, Chairperson. And we have got other support programs, Chairperson, other partners as well. Then, coming to slide 11, Chairperson, we're just reflecting now our impact statement, which is to improve access to sustainable services through the strengthening of municipalities' capacity to provide reliable municipal infrastructure in a manner that creates jobs for local communities and contribute to economic growth. This is our impact. If this access to reliable and sustainable services is not improved, then the work of MISA would not have impacted positively on municipalities. We want to be measured based on this statement. And then coming to the strat plan term, as I've indicated earlier, in slide 12, please, we have certain priorities that MISA directly respond to, and one such priority is a capable, ethical, and developmental state. This is priority number 6. In terms of our plan to respond to that priority, we've got outcome and outcome indicators that talk to that priority. For outcome 1 will be improved governance, administrative support system, and ethical practices. And outcome indicators that Chairperson want to maintain our unqualified audit opinion. As you recall, we managed to achieve unqualified opinion with no material findings for the 2018-19 financial year. So we want to maintain this for the next 5 years. And also want to ensure that we reduce wasteful, fruitless, and irregular expenditure to 0. And we have so far achieved that, and we want to maintain that and make sure that we don't have any fruitless expenditure as well as irregular expenditure on our books. On slide 13, on priority economic transformation and job creation, that we have got a number of outcome and outcome indicators. Outcome 1 is effective water management system for the benefit of all. And the outcome indicator, Chairperson, want to stabilize non-revenue water in selected municipalities. As you will know, we've got a serious challenge in the country of non-revenue water, sitting currently over 41% across all municipalities. And we're saying this needs to be tackled head on. And in the next 5 years, we have planned to reduce this 5-year this non-revenue water by at least 5% in selected municipalities. And efficiency in infrastructure management, another outcome. And then outcome indicator, we want to make sure that Chairperson, we address the challenge of operational expenditure spent on repairs and maintenance and operational maintenance, Chairperson. We've got a huge problem, Chair. Currently, on average, municipalities are spending 0.8% on operations and maintenance across all municipalities. Yet they are required, Chairperson, in terms of the law, to spend at least 8% of their operational budget. And we're saying this has to be enforced, Chairperson, failing which then we're sitting on a time bomb in terms of the reliability of our municipal infrastructure. Already, Chairperson, this has manifested itself in a number of sewer outbreaks all over the country, and a situation where there will be infrastructure but not producing water because of lack of maintenance. And we're saying this has to be addressed, Chairperson. And
Let me say you are
Chair, then the next
Mr. Vimba.
slide, Chair, slide 14, on the priority is economic transformation and job creation. And our outcome is efficiency in infrastructure management. And we're saying that we need to, as an outcome indicator, increase in the percentage expenditure on MIG. And our plan is to make sure that 90% of MIG receiving municipalities spend at least 90% of their MIG grant. Currently, Chairperson, we're sitting at 66% of municipalities spending 90% of MIG grant. We're saying we need to improve that. And also, the next outcome indicator, Chair, increasing the number of municipalities accessing alternative funding sources for infrastructure development. DM reflected on this, that MISA has been given additional responsibilities to not only focus on infrastructure delivery and to the exclusion of other key enablers in the development of infrastructure, like funding for infrastructure. So we're working together with DPSA and other role players to assist municipalities to access alternative funding sources for municipal infrastructure through a private sector participation model that I spoke about, Chairperson, earlier. Then the next are still under economic transformation and job creation priority. We want to, our outcome indicator there is to increase municipal technical capacity. Chairperson will support all the 44 districts with technical capacity support through deployment of engineering and a number of other programs, Chair, that we are implementing to develop capacity in municipalities. And also, Chair, and then the next outcome, which is a long-term municipal infrastructure investment, we want to also support municipalities, Chairperson, to increase the number of districts implementing long-term infrastructure investment plans. And we are targeting all the 44 districts, Chairperson. We are working very closely, Chairperson, on this indicator with the IUDF program within the department. Then the next slide, Chair, which is slide number 10, so sorry, not slide number 16. Slide number 16, Chair, still on the economic transformation and job creation priority. The outcome there is enhanced intergovernmental and interdepartmental coordination through the implementation of the district development model. Again, Chairperson, MISA plays a very critical role in the coordination of the infrastructure component of the DTM. So in the next 5 years, we will then play that role to make sure that all 44 districts have got one plan, in particular as it relates to infrastructure. Then the next slide, slide 17, Chairperson, on the spatial integration, human settlement, and local government priority. There, our contribution is on the outcome there is a spatially just and transformed national space economy that enables equal access to social services and economic opportunities in cities, regions, and rural areas. There, Chairperson, the outcome indicator, we are planning to support 44 districts with the development and or implementation of SPLUMA compliant plans, of course, in line with the district development model. Then the next outcome there is increased access to climate change mitigation and adaptation funds by municipalities, and we will be supporting 25 municipalities to access funding earmarked for climate change mitigation and adaptation measures. We're working very closely with DPSA, the Department of Environmental Affairs, to achieve this outcome indicator. And then the next outcome, Chair, the same outcome in an improved municipal capacity to deliver basic services, quality infrastructure, and integrated public transport to increase household access to basic services. There, Chairperson, we've got about 4 outcome indicators. One is to support 44 districts to improve capacity to deliver infrastructure to increase access to water services. And the other one, Chairperson, is support 44 districts to improve capacity to deliver infrastructure to increase access to sanitation services, and also for the same districts to reduce waste disposal to landfill sites. And the next one is the number of districts that will be supported to deliver infrastructure to increase access to electric services. So all these will be supporting through the capacity that we have at MISA. Then coming to the APP, Chairperson, Program 1, which is slide 21, Chair. The Program 1, the slide 21 just indicate the sub-programs falling under Program 1, Chairperson. I'm not going to speak to that one. I'll just move straight to the plan. In terms of the outcome, one, improved governance, administrative support systems, and ethical practices. There, our outcome indicators is approved communication strategy implemented, and this is what we are planning to do in this 2020-2021 Chairperson, and also annual risk management plan implemented. And in terms of the next one, the internal audit as well, to ensure that our annual internal audit plan is implemented, and also our ICT plan, operational plan is implemented, and also, Chairperson, in terms of the procurement plan, we want to ensure that our approved procurement plan is implemented. Then we move to Program 2. Technical support services is one of our main core programs. In terms of this program, it has got 3 sub-programs, which I'm not going to go through them. They are indicated there. But I'll just move straight to the plan in terms of the outcomes and the output indicators there. In terms of the first outcome, which is effective water management system for the benefit of all, in our indicator, we are planning to support at least 10 municipalities with the implementation of water conservation and demand management strategies. And also, in terms of the efficient infrastructure management, we're targeting 30 municipalities supported with operations and maintenance plans. Then moving to slide 27, still on the efficiency outcome, efficient infrastructure management. There we were working very closely with municipal infrastructure grant program within the department, as I've indicated earlier. Our plan is to assist a number of districts with improved MIT spending to at least 90%. Our plan is to assist to make sure that is achieved, Chairperson, for the 44 districts. And also under the same outcome, our plan is to also, Chairperson, have a number of youth enrolled in the MISA apprenticeship program. We're planning to enroll at least 100 youth in our apprenticeship program this financial year. And also we have a plan to enroll youth in the MISA experiential leadership program. We have a target of 17. And moving to the next slide, slide 28, same outcome, Chairperson. We have a plan to enroll a number of youth in the MISA Young Graduate Program, which is our program. This year, we're planning to enroll 150 young people in the MISA Young Graduate Program. And also, Chair, we plan to award bursaries to youth, to young people who are interested in technical qualifications which are relevant to local government. And our plan is to award 75 bursaries this financial year. Also, we have got a number of artisans, Chair, that have qualified through our programs. Now we want to make sure those artisans are placed in municipalities. So we have a plan of placing 20 qualified artisans this financial year. Also, Chairperson, in terms of the same program, technical support services, we have got also a challenge with, as you know, Chairperson, with water and wastewater process controllers, which are not in place. Now we want to have a number of water and wastewater process controllers placed in municipalities. We have trained a number of them, and we are targeting to place at least 50 water and wastewater process controllers, Chairperson, to address the challenges of leaks and the non-revenue water in municipalities and the issues of operation and maintenance that are not happening. And also, we are planning to assist municipalities, Chairperson, with training of municipal officials in the municipal infrastructure management. We have a target of 250 municipal officials that will be training this financial year. And also, we also have a target of municipal officials that will be enrolled in our recognition of prior learning program, and we have a plan of recruiting 100 municipal officials that will be assisted towards our recognition of prior learning program.
Mr. Vimba.
And also, Chairperson,
Mr.
we also have
Vimba.
a flagship program around municipal capacity.
Mr. Vimba, you're talking like you are in a cage, very, very far, and you are number slide 33 of 45, and you've already eaten your time. And some of these issues you are repeating. You said you got 8 outcomes and 15 strategic outcomes. We noted that. Just summarize everything in the next 5 minutes, please, if you can. Do you hear that? Hello?
I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, just summarize everything
Hello?
in the next 5 minutes. We've already eaten much of your time. I want to give more members time to engage with the 2 presentations. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not going to go through all the other slides except to indicate that we have got another core program, which is the IDMS Chairperson program, which is Infrastructure Delivery Management Support Program, on slide 37. We have also have a number of plans, Chairperson, that we were planning to implement there, like the rolling out of the Infrastructure Delivery Management Support Program, as well as the number of framework contracts that we'll be implementing. And also under the same program, Chairperson will be implementing the private sector participation model that I alluded to earlier. And also we'll be conducting a number of feasibility studies to address the challenges around the misalignment of bulk and reticulation, Chair, as well as the long-term infrastructure investment planning that we'll be dealing with, Chairperson. Then let me move, Chair, to slide 41, which is our budget. Chair, as you know, our budget, Chairperson, has not really grown. Currently, we have 359 million allocation for 2020-2021. As you will see, Chairperson, that bulk of this budget is on our core programs, in particular technical support programs, which is where the engineering capacity that Mr. has is located, Chairperson, which is 240 million. And then the other one, 94 million, is on administration, and 24 million on the new core program, which is ITMS, Chair. Then the next slide, Chair, is just indicating some of the indicators that will be impacted already. We can see that we might not achieve some of these indicators because of COVID-19, Chairperson. I'm not going to go through them, Chair, and except to indicate that we have already initiated a process to review our stretch plan and APP given the impact of COVID-19. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Apologies, Chair, for the technical problems. I suspect I have a problem with a poor network where I am, Chairperson. Apologies. Thank you very much.
No, it's okay. Even though members, I think, they battled, because as I indicated, it was like you are very, very, very far. But nevertheless, it's okay. We have a sense about what you're doing, your outcomes as well as the indicators. We note your budget, and we'll take it from there in terms of the engagements. Honorable members, this is the presentations that we have received. I think it is time that we engage with the presentations. Those who want to speak, can they indicate, please, so that I write their names?
Chair.
Mikalakis, yes. Go on. Is that Korean Mikalakis only? No, it can't be.
Mola.
Yes.
Paella.
Paella.
Kenny Mutamai.
5, Kenny. Professor number 6, Nita number 7, yes.
Namhlal.
8, Sileku. I mean Zandamela and Tetwa, number 9 and number 10. Yes, let's start. Koya, you followed by Mikalakis.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Can I just establish this? Is it possible that I request each one of you, we've got 1 hour, 30 minutes at our disposal. Can I propose that we allow each member to ask 3 questions and at least 1 comment, if possible? Because I know that sometimes members take a long time to speak. I beg that we do that so that we have more time to get responses and to engage with the presentations. Over to you, Honorable Koya.
Thanks, Chair. For the sake of audibility, I'm not gonna switch on my video. Maybe let me start with a comment, Chair. A comment that says COVID-19 has unleashed latent potential for service delivery. The capacity that we never knew that government has. And I hope and trust that moving forward, we will try to keep the momentum and not drop the ball, despite the limited resources that we would be having. It's a comment that I thought I should make. Secondly, Chair, in line with what was raised by Honorable Mikalakis at the beginning of the meeting, I'm tempted, Chair, to say that this matter should be communicated as is, because we have jointly complained as the committee that the minister has never been in this committee. And we shouldn't misconstrue the bilaterals that would be there from time to time. between the chair of the committee and the minister. But we want to interact with the minister directly as the committee. So that matter should be taken up with the minister, that in our next meeting, we want the minister to join us, notwithstanding the amount of work and the good work that she is doing. But we should really communicate that. Now, what I'm going to do, Chair, I'm going to ask MISA and COGTA to take what is due to them from what I will be asking, so that I don't say MISA, COGTA, but they will know what is due to them. One, the challenge that we have, Chair, is we've got smaller municipalities that use the municipal infrastructure grant for other purposes other than infrastructure. I know of a few municipalities who even go to the extent of paying salaries with the MIG, and I don't see something happening there to try and make sure that that does not happen. So we need to be advised in terms of what is going to be done there. I'm looking at the objectives and the goals and the targets that are set as medium term, but we need to be told what is going to be the situation in the immediate term. For example, some of the small municipalities cannot afford to pay big salaries so as to attract the best skills. So they settle for what they can get and not what they would want. What is being done to make sure that those smaller municipalities are able to attract the same quality? For example, here in the Northern Cape, if you go to a municipality called Renosterberg, the municipal manager of Renosterberg earns a salary lesser than an ordinary director in Solplaatje municipality. That's the salary of a municipal manager. And do you think you will be able to attract the best skills? That's the question. So what is that should be done in terms of that to ensure that we attract that? The issue of Section 154 interventions is not coming out in terms of the plans as to what is going to be done to support the municipalities before we get to the point of going to 139 and the dissolutions and so on and so forth. And there are municipalities that cannot account for billions of liters of lost water. And we also need to check that some of the municipalities don't have the director for infrastructure, but they are expected to spend on infrastructure. Or if the director for infrastructure is appointed, he's just an ordinary teacher who was teaching history at school. Now he becomes a director of infrastructure. What do we expect of such a thing? So that's just the issue that I wanted to check. What is being done to ensure that there is direct interaction with the municipalities where service delivery matters the most? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Koia. Honorable Mikalakis.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chairperson, my questions are mostly aimed at COGTA and with regard specifically to Section 139 investigations. I'm very glad to hear that the department mentioned that there is a bill that will regulate these proceedings or processes on its way. My questions are just why has it taken so long for the department to get to a point where there is a bill like this on the table? And what is your timeline for presenting it? It's fair enough to say that the bill will come to the committee in the next 5 years, but so will the minister. We need to have clear timelines to know when what will happen. Then just, Chairperson, in the meantime, in the absence of a bill regulating these proceedings and processes, what is the minister currently using as a guideline to guide her in making decisions with regards to Section 139 intervention requests? And then lastly, does the department from their side monitor the processes where interventions have been approved? And if not, why don't they monitor this? And if they do, why do we find cases where municipalities are worse off after these interventions than before they were approved, if the department actually monitors it? Those are just my questions with regards to that and the bill that the department spoke about. And then I have a request or a comment to MISA, with your permission, Chairperson, is just I didn't find the presentation by MISA very helpful. There's not much that I can do with that information, quite frankly. Can we request that MISA provides us with a bit more in-depth information? It doesn't help they say that there are projects in 25 municipalities, but we don't know which municipalities. We don't know what the size of the projects or the financial help is. We don't know where it is. We don't have any time frames. So it helps us absolutely nothing to say that you're helping in 20 municipalities and you're going to help another 15 municipalities in the future. We want to have a bit more details. So if I may request, Chairperson, please, that within the next week or so we receive, with regards to all the references that MISA made, a bit more in-depth information with regards to where they have projects, to what extent and for what purpose, please. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mola, followed by Honorable Faela.
Thank you, Chairperson. Is it not Ngita? Chair. It's Mola, not Ngita. Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the department's presentation. It was a bit quiet. We didn't see the presentation clearly, Chairperson. My first question goes to COGTA. You said 250 CWP participants trained annually. When was the last training? My second one is IDPs. I know that IDP is for 5 years. I want to know how, if the municipality, they didn't implement this IDP for 5 years, what did the department doing? My last question, Chairperson, is this of a MIC funding? How are you going to monitor? How are you monitoring this MIC? Because like the Honorable Koya said, in other municipalities, they pay salaries, they do whatever with this man. Whom are they accounting to, Chairperson? It's my last question for me, Chairperson. My last question, MISA said it's supporting municipality into improve spending the MIC allocation. How are they going to do that, Chairperson? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Faela.
Chairperson, allow me to greet my deputy ministers and fellow members. My question is, I have only one question, Chairperson. In South Africa, we have 44 districts and 8 metros. And all along, the municipality has been using IDP as their way of accommodating all communities as far as identifying relevant projects for 5 years. Now, the district development model has come to place, Chairperson, in the same space. Now, I want to check with the department as to, do they find it easy to work for the development model compared with the IDP, because I just want to check if they find it difficult to work. Are we winning with the district development model, where in a sense space we have integrated development plan? I just want the department to take me through here. Are we winning? If we are not winning, what are the challenges? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Faela. Honorable Nita, followed by Honorable Motsamai.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I will start with the input by the Minister. Chair, in appreciating all the presentation of this evening. Chair, Minister is saying there is an expectation that the municipalities will be under distress. And what I would like to know from what are they planning to do as the department to mitigate on that, working both with the MISA that is just presented and the provincial departments to help municipalities. To Chair, I'm happy that the department is stating the fact that they have been on negative in terms of the audit outcome, and the fact that now they are striving to improve in that situation. I'm raising this, Chair, because the department is responsible to help municipalities in terms of their own audit outcomes. So in my view, really, they should be leading by example. So we are looking at that with really, with our eyes very open for them to seriously improve and lead by example. And my last point, Chair, as you said, we should be only having 3. In presentation, the CFO is saying under the disaster budget, there is a decrease. What I would like to know, because in presentation, DG and the Deputy Minister was saying we are under 2 disasters. One is COVID, and the other one is the issue of drought, which is water that is needed for this period that we are under. What I would like to know, when are they expecting the Department of Treasury to give them the money to start doing their work? Because we can't wait for that, especially if we talk of droughts, and yet we need water. Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable Motsamai.